Let me know when you're ready. Okay, Shabbat Shalom and welcome everyone. Those who are here in person, thank you for being here and for returning after a hiatus of being online. And for those who are still online, welcome to you as well. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to see you in person as we continue to now do Friday nights in person. We're going to begin Kabbalat Shabbat together, the service for welcoming Shabbat. And I invite everyone to take their Sidur Lev Shalem, and we will begin on page 10 in the Sidur. Let's sing together Yedid Nefesh, the introductory song and the introductory hymn at the beginning of Kabbalat Shabbat. Page 10, Yedid Nefesh. Yedid nefesh av harachaman meshoch avdach el ritzonach yarutz avdach kemo hayal Ishtachave mul hadarach ki eravlo yedidutach mino fetzuf v'chol ta'am. Beautiful, splendorous light of the world, my soul is sick with love. God, please heal her by bathing her in your serene light. Then she shall surely be strengthened and healed and be your servant forever. Bottom of the page. Higalena ufros chaviv alai et sukat Shelomach Ta'ir Eretz Mikevodach Nagila V'nismecha bach Maher ahuv Kiva moed V'choneni kimei olam. Lai 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 la 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 Let's turn to page 11, and we will officially begin Kabbalat Shabbat with Psalm 95. Lechune Ranana, please sing along. Lechu neranena neranena ladonai naria naria litzuri sheinu. Lechu neranena neranena ladonai naria naria litzuri sheinu. Nekadama fanav nekadama fanav nekadama fanav betoda. Bismirot, Narialo, Bismirot, Narialo. Page 13, at the beginning of Psalm 96, sing to Adonai a new song, sing to Adonai all the earth, sing to Adonai, praise God's name, day after day, tell of God's deliverance. Please join me at the top of the page. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Pasru Miyom Leyom Yeshuato, Sapru Bagoyim Kevo, Bechol Ha'amim Nifleotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, Hulal me'od, norahu, al kol Elohim, my lai 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 lai. La 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 Call out to Adonai, all the earth, out in joy singing. Sing to Adonai to the music of the Lord, and voices music together with horns and shofar cries, trumpet, the presence of the Psalm Adonai. Let's turn to page 18, and we will sing the concluding section of Psalm 98, starting 3 lines from the top. Zameru lai bechinor, please join me. Zameru lai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, bachatzotrot vekol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayam lo, tevel veyosheveva, ne'arotim chaf, yachad harim yiranenu, lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz, Yishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim be'sharim. Yiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yoshveva, neharot imcha uchaf, yachad harim yiranenu. Page 20. Let us sing together Romemu, right where the little arrow is pointing inward at the bottom of the Hebrew section on page 20. Please join me. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kocho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodesho. Now let's turn to page 21. I invite everyone to please rise for Mizmor LeDavid, Psalm 29 at the top of the page. Mizmor LeDavid, Havol Adonai b'nei elim, Havol Adonai kavod haoz, Havol Adonai kevod shemo, Havol Adonai beharat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim Adonai hamayim alai kol Adonai ba'kol kol Adonai behadar kol Adonai shover arazim Adonai Zasei Halavanon Bayar Kedem Kemo Egel Levanon Vesir Kemo Venreimim Ailai Kol Adonai Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh Kol Adonai Yechol Elayalot Ayechesof Ye'arot Olechalo Kulo Omer Kavod Ailai Adonai Lamabu Yashava Yeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Oz Le'amuitin Adonai Yivar Etamo Shalom Lai 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 Lai. You may be seated. And continue now with the first two stanzas on page 23, the middle stanza on page, and then the final stanza on page 25. And when we get to the final stanza, we will that are here and face sense of the sanctuary. Those who are watching at home, you will some your home to welcome pages 23 through 25. Le'adodi likrat kala Shabbat mekabela le'adodi likrat Shabbat mekabela Shamor v'or Hi anu el hamiucha Adonai echad u'shemo echad Shemu tiferet ve'elitila Dodi kat kala Shabbat mekabela Lechadodi kala Penei Shabbat mekabela Le'uvene lecha Ki mekor haberacha Erosh mikedem nesuch Sof ma'e b'machavat achila Lecha dodi l'braka Penei Shabbat mekabela Lecha dodi l'brat kala Penei Shabbat mekabela. 24. He told Hitoreri, Kiva orech umiori, Uri, Shirdaberi, Kevod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha dodi likat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Page 25, the final stanza. Please rise and face the entrance. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha uvetzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. And we will now turn to page 27 for the Psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 92. Please join me at the top of the page. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatecha balelot, ale asor v'ale navel, ale higayon bechinor, mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, uzamer leshimcha elyon. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. Middle of page 28, right where the little arrow is pointing inward, Tzadik Katamar. Tzadik Katamar yiferach, Ke'erez Balevanon Iske, Shetulim Beveit Adonai, Bechatzerot Eloheinu Yaferichu. Od yenuvun beseva, Deshenim verananim iyu lehagid, Ki yashar Adonai tsuri velo avalatabo. Before we continue with the Mariv evening service, let me take a few moments to just speak about this Shabbat and the Torah reading for this Shabbat. As some of you may have read in my weekly message, which went out earlier today, I mentioned that this Shabbat is the final of the 4 special Shabbats that occur before Passover. And what happens in the Shabbat morning service is that instead of us reading from one Sefer Torah, from one Torah scroll, we actually read from 2. In the first scroll, we read what our weekly Parsha is, and I'll talk more about the weekly Parsha tomorrow morning. But in the second scroll, we read a special Maftir Aliyah that is what designates the special Shabbat. So this Shabbat is called Shabbat HaChodesh, or in other words, the Shabbat of the month. And it's not to be confused with Shabbat Rosh Chodesh, which is the Shabbat of the new month, or Shabbat Mevarchim HaChodesh, which is the Shabbat where we announce the new month that's upcoming. It actually happens to be Mevarchim HaChodesh tomorrow as well, but more importantly, it is Shabbat HaChodesh, special maftir, special haftorah. Why is it called the Shabbat of the month or Shabbat HaChodesh? It is because it is in the maftir aliyah where we are commanded to begin keeping a calendar. And according to this reading, we are to begin keeping the calendar and have the first month be the month of Nisan, which is the new upcoming month for, in the Hebrew calendar, and it's the month where Passover occurs. Well, let's think about that for a second. How do we do that if we know that Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year? Why is the Torah telling us to have the month of Passover be the first month of the year, which is taking place now in the spring, as opposed to Rosh Hashanah, which we know is the Jewish New Year that takes place in the fall? There's a bunch of different explanations for that, but the answer is that biblically in the Torah, the original New Year was around Passover time. And it's because it commemorates and denotes when we were freed as Jews, we were freed from slavery and thus kind of began the new life for the Jewish people. There are some scholars who say, more from an academic and anthropological point of view, that it's also a compromise between what different cultures during the time of the Torah would do to celebrate the new year. Some cultures would celebrate the new year in the spring, and some cultures would celebrate it in the fall. The spring, they would celebrate it because it would be kind of the plants are starting to bloom and new crops are coming in, so they are wanting to celebrate it then. Those who celebrated it in the fall were celebrating it because that's when the rainy season would generally happen, and it would bring new life after months of summer where it was always very dry during the summer months. Those scholars then take it an extra step, and they say that it is the same thing like what we do currently in our lives, where we celebrate the secular New Year in January, and then at some other point during the year, we all have our individual birthdays. And so similarly, we have Rosh Hashanah in the fall, which is kind of the birthday of the world. It in a way commemorates the creation of the world. And then we have Passover in the month of Nisan, which in a way is kind of the birthday of the Jewish people. Again, because renewing their life after being slaves in Egypt for so long. And so that's how we can kind of reconcile having both of these ideas of two different New Years, so to say. With that, I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, and let us continue with the Mariv service. We don't quite have a minyan just yet, both between those who are here in person and those who are online. If you are watching online and you can make it here to the synagogue in the next few minutes, that would be great. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook and you can come onto our Zoom link, that would also work because we can count you that way as well. We still need a few more people. With that, let us turn to page 39A, and let's read together the English reading on 39A, the first blessing of the Mariv service. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Living and ever-present God, may your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Page 40, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amecha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokveinu u'kumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We'll continue privately with the next two paragraphs of the Shema, page 42. Adonai Elohechem Emet, top of 43a. Emet ve'emuna kol zot ve'kayam aleinu, ki hu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ein zulato, v'anachnu Yisrael Amo. God brought Israel from its midst to lasting freedom and led them through the divided water of the Sea of Reeds. As their pursuers and enemies drowned in the depths, God's children beheld the power of the divine. They praised and acknowledged God's name willingly, accepting God's sovereignty. Then Moses and the people of Israel joyfully sang unto you, Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise, working wonders? Top of page 44. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך פעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Hashkivenu, page 45. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom. Vehamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim. Uferos aleinu sukat shelomecha, v'takenenu beitza tova milefanecha, v'hoshihenu leman shemecha. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Uferos aleinu sukat shelomecha, baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We will now turn to page 46, and we will continue with the Shamru, followed by the private silent Amidah. Please rise at the top of the page. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Lai beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam, ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i shavat va'inafash. The private silent Hamidah begins on page 47 and concludes on page 52. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה shalom. And we will now turn to page 55 for the Shabbat evening Kiddush. For those who are at home, if you have your wine or grape juice, please get that ready. For those who are here, we have a few cups of grape juice up here if you would like to partake. They are the 4 cups that are there on the tray. And I invite everyone to please rise as we do together the Kiddush, page 55. Savrim anadan verabadan verabotai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki avanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat. L'chaim. We will continue with Aleinu, page 56. Aleinu leshabeach lahadon hakol, latet gedula leotzer brishit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, על כן נכתב לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. At this point, we will remember those who are no longer with us. This week, we remember Norman Dunn, Simone Greve, Ruth Kessner, Pearl Pollack, Herman Bergman, Francis Negan, Alex Schneiderman, Albert Shimano, Edward Baclini, Ralph Peters, Herbert Braun, Lillian Zabin, Hi Cam Lamb, and Shirley Garden-Schwartz. And if there's anyone else you are remembering this evening, please take a moment to remember them in your mind and in your heart. Even though we do not have a minyan this evening, there is a custom to still remember those that we are remembering and honoring them by reciting the last two full verses of the Mourner's Kaddish that are at the bottom of page 58, starting with Yehei Shlama. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. You may be seated for a moment. Just a quick note, our President Harvey, who is normally here with us during services, is not here this evening because one of his closest and dearest friends, who of course is a very well-known and well-loved individual in the community, Rabbi Paul Citron, is being honored this evening at Congregation Albert, celebrating his 50th year of being in the rabbinate. And so there's a very large program going on there this evening, which Harvey and Chris are attending. So they send their apologies that they're not able to be with us this evening, but he will be here tomorrow morning. And so because he's not here, Ellen, are you doing announcements or am I doing announcements? That's me doing announcements. Okay, wonderful. So if I remember correctly, I believe this coming Sunday, we have two different things happening. We have Misha's program, which is the afternoon tea, and I can't really see the thing, so I can't see the timing of it. But Jimmy, what time is that? 2 o'clock for the afternoon tea, and then I think it's after that in the evening is the kosher co-op pickup. What's that? Yes. So then after that will be the kosher co-op pickup. We have Better Together on what looks like March 26th. And then, of course, our April programs, we have our second night Seder on April 6th. We have the Men's Club Barbecue on the 11th. Our congregational annual meeting is April 16th. And then our installation weekend will be the final weekend in April 28th through the 30th. And I think that covers most of it. Jimmy, do you have anything else? No? Are there any community announcements? Okay, then. Let us turn to page 211, and we will conclude the service this evening with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra le'et na'asa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hoveh והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשיל לו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום מקרא, בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת אישן ואירה, ואם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for those who joined us in person, those who joined online. Tomorrow morning, 9:30, Shabbat morning services. Have a great Shabbat, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom.